Some military vehicles look fast, some look aggressive, and then there's this one. Meet the Volvo TP21, better known by its unforgettable nickname, Sugga. In Swedish, that simply means the pig. Not exactly a fearsome name, but don't let it fool you. Because this pig was built to survive places where roads don't exist, and decades later, it still commands respect from off-road legends.
So, how did this strange, chunky Swedish vehicle become one of the most fascinating military machines of the Cold War era? Let's find out. To understand the TP21, we need to go back to the aftermath of World War II. Sweden was officially neutral, but the war had delivered a brutal lesson. Modern armies needed mobility, not just firepower. The Swedish army wanted a staff and communications vehicle that could move through forests, snow, mud, and rocky terrain, places where normal cars simply failed.
Volvo answered that call, but not perfectly. The first attempt was the Volvo TPV. On paper, it looked promising. In reality, it was a compromise on wheels. Volvo used a truck chassis, combined it with a civilian taxi body, and hoped for the best. The result? Too long, too heavy, and terrible off-road. The army wasn't impressed. They wanted a vehicle that could crawl, not cruise. So Volvo went back to the drawing board. In 1953, engineer Måns Vitellius took charge. This time, only one thing was carried over from the old design, a robust straight-six engine producing around 90 horsepower. Everything else changed. The wheelbase was shortened, the chassis was redesigned, and for the first time, Volvo built something that felt more like a military tool than a car. This was the birth of the Volvo TP21. The TP21 wasn't fast, it wasn't elegant, but it was unstoppable. It featured locking differentials on both axles, ensuring traction even when one wheel was completely off the ground. A low-range gearbox allowed it to crawl over obstacles at walking speed, and its suspension was tuned not for comfort, but for survival. In difficult terrain, the TP21 behaved less like a car and more like a small, unarmed tank.
So, where did the nickname come from? The TP21 borrowed its rounded, bulky body shape from the Volvo PV800 taxi. Wide, short, almost comically stout. To Swedish soldiers, it didn't look like a wolf or a bear. It looked like a pig. And just like a pig, it was stubborn, tough, and refused to give up. But the real magic of the TP21 was inside.
This wasn't a passenger vehicle. It was a mobile communications hub. The rear seats were replaced with workstations for radio operators. Maps, tables, military radios, everything packed into a tight space. One brilliant feature stands out. A flexible exhaust hose could be attached to redirect fumes away from the vehicle when the engine was running for long periods. That meant soldiers could operate radios for hours without suffocating. Simple, smart, extremely Swedish. At the rear, mounted above the fuel cans, were two patrol bicycles. If the TP21 got stuck, or if silence was required, a commander could grab a bike and continue the mission. No drama, no excuses, just pure military logic.
Volvo briefly tried to sell the TP21 to civilians. On paper, it looked like the perfect early off-roader. In reality, it failed miserably. The engine consumed fuel at an alarming rate. The stiff military suspension made road driving exhausting, and the price was far too high. Only 724 units were produced, almost all for the Swedish Army. But what failed as a commercial product became a legend with time. Today, the Volvo TP21 Sugga is highly sought after by collectors. Not because it's fast, not because it's beautiful, but because it represents an era where vehicles were built with purpose, not trends. It's a reminder that Scandinavian engineering values function over fashion. And sometimes, that's what makes something timeless.
So here's the question. In pure off-road conditions, could this stubborn Swedish pig still hold its own against modern icons like the G-Wagon? Let me know what you think in the comments. If this is the first time you've heard about the Volvo TP21, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe, because there are many more forgotten military legends waiting to be rediscovered. See you in the next one.